Hey gorgeous, welcome to my channel Soil and Margaritas. My name is Roxana. I have a very fun video today. I actually came up with this idea for this video because one of you asked a question in one of my community posts last week about growing flowers. Actually, I believe the specific question was, what are my top 5 favorite flowers to grow for flower arrangements? And as I was thinking about the answer, I thought I'm just going to make a video and show you guys. I'm not going to show you 5, I am going to show you about 10 of them. If you are new here, my garden is located in central Indiana. I am a home gardener. I do not sell my flowers. I do not make any money out of growing anything in my garden. And I have a small town size property. I have a backyard where I grow vegetables, I grow flowers, and every year I start a lot of them from seed. I have a small room in my house where I dedicated to growing a bunch of them from seed, and every year I try to do something different as far as variety goes. I am very happy with how my garden has been growing since we moved here about 7-8 years ago. And cutting flowers for bouquets has been something that I am trying to be better at. I used to be that kind of person that will let the flowers stay in the plant and I will never cut them because, you know, they look amazing on the plant. But in recent years, I started actually pushing myself to bring those flowers, those blooms indoors and enjoy them that way. And this year, actually 2022, has been the year that I probably make the most flower arrangements. I actually made a few videos where I show you how I make a few of them, but I made a ton of them more that I didn't have the time to make videos. And the flowers that I'm about to show you are a combination of shrubs, perennials, things that I grew from bulbs, and I hope that you can take maybe some ideas for growing your own and maybe looking to growing some from seed if you're not growing from seed. So hopefully this video helps you. I don't have them in any specific order. I am just going to throw them at you the way that I wrote them in my notes. So here we go. I am going to start with one of my favorites, which is hydrangeas. I love hydrangeas. I have a huge hydrangea hedge that I planted in 2016, and since then it has been growing into a beautiful full mature row of hydrangeas, and I love them. They are limelight hydrangeas, paniculata hydrangeas, and I love them because in my zone, in zone 5, they can handle the heat, they can handle full sun, and they're amazing. But there are a lot of hydrangea varieties that you can grow for your zone. There are some that grow very small, and there are some that give you complete privacy. For me, hydrangeas are a definitely must have for cut flowers because one, they're pretty hardy in my zone. They come back each year. I don't have to do anything other than pruning and fertilizing the shrubs, and they come back every year. I don't have to worry about planting them, starting them from seed every year. They're amazing that way, and they are one of the best flowers out there for drying flowers. I actually have a few blooms indoors that I collected this summer, and they look just as the day that I cut them. And some hydrangeas, like the paniculata hydrangeas limelights, they start turning a little bit of a pink / blush color in the fall, and I feel like I have 2 types of blooms: a nice off-white creamy bloom in the summer and a pink blush color in the fall. So that's a win-win for me. Another favorite is zinnias. Just like hydrangeas, there are tons of different varieties, colors, shapes, textures, sizes. Depending on how you grow them, you can get very small zinnias, or if you give them plenty of space, plenty of fertilizer, you can get varieties that grow really big, and they are amazing. Zinnias in my zone are considered annuals, meaning that they don't come back year after year. So I do have to either plant them directly from seed, or I can start them indoors a couple of weeks earlier in the season, and then I can just transplant them outside when it's warm enough. One of my favorite varieties of zinnias is the Queen Lime zinnias, and they have reds, orange, blush, and this year I got 2 more varieties, which is orange and lime or lemon. I can't quite remember the varieties, but I love the Queen Lime varieties because they give me this bi-color, this combination of colors that have some sort of green color on them, and then they are true to their color. Do you have a zinnia variety that you absolutely love? I want to know. You can grow zinnias in containers if you don't have the space to put them in a flower bed or in your raised beds, and they attract pollinators, especially butterflies, like crazy. I love zinnias, and it's one of those flowers that I can just throw seeds here and there and they come up on their own. But I do prefer to start them a little bit earlier just to get ahead of the game. Number 3 is dahlias. I love dahlias, but I also hate that they're a little bit picky to grow, especially in my area. I believe the dahlias are considered perennials down to zone 7, which means that in my zone 5, they will not make it. And I know that some people in zone 6, they try to mulch them and cover them, protect them during the winter to give them a chance to come back, but that's a hit or miss. For my zone, it's definitely a no-go. I have tried. So dahlias is something that I have to definitely start ahead of time indoors, about 6 to 8 weeks before, so that I can wake them up, I can wake the tubers up, and then I can just transplant them outside when it's warm enough. I do have a love-hate relationship with dahlias, like I mentioned before, because they are a little bit of high maintenance. They don't like it too wet, they don't like it too dry, but they are without a doubt a gorgeous statement in any flower arrangements. I have made several flower arrangements using dahlias and they just steal the show. There are a lot of colors available for dahlias: reds, whites, yellows, and there are also sizes and textures, so you have plenty of choices for dahlias. And while they're not perennial in my zone, you can save the tubers from dahlias after they have gone dormant in the late fall, and you can save them for next year. It takes a little bit of preparation, but I think that they're definitely worth it. Number 4 is AMMI DARA. I fell in love with AMMI DARA this year. I grew it for the first time and I quickly realized that it was one of those flowers that I have to grow every year in my garden. I had them in containers this year, but next year I am going to try and give them some space in maybe my raised beds and in my flower beds in the ground. But AMMI DARA was one that I tried with the winter sowing method. I don't think that any of the seeds that I tried to germinate indoors in my grow room germinated. So AMMI DARA for me, winter sowing. Have you tried growing AMMI DARA before from seed? Number 5 is going to probably be one that you're not expecting, and that is marigolds. And I am not talking about the very saturated red or orange marigolds that you might be thinking of. I am talking about the double off-white marigolds that are just amazing. They almost look like roses in my opinions. This is the second year for me growing marigolds, and while I do have all of the short varieties that I grow in my raised beds to help with all of the bad bugs, I started growing the double off-white marigolds, Kilimanjaro, I believe that's the name of them, and my goodness, they're amazing. They are not really a white color, they are an off-white color, and they look amazing. Marigolds for me is one of those plants that the smell bring me a feel-good feeling, if that makes sense, because they remind me of Dia de los Muertos in Mexico, and the fact that I can just have that smell early in the summer, it's a win-win. What do you think of the smell of marigolds? Yay or nay? Number 6 is coneflowers, and I do have to be honest, I don't have a lot of coneflowers in my property, but I do love them for cut flowers, especially because they're perennials and I don't have to do anything other than give them a little bit of fertilizer every spring. I do have a variety that is a favorite of mine. It's a yellow variety. I'm gonna have to try to find the name of it because I've had it for a while now, and the color is just so buttery and a happy shade of yellow. I also do have a lot of other pink and somewhat red varieties, and I absolutely love them. Number 7 is amaranth. I love amaranth because they add that extra touch to any flower bouquet. in my opinion. I have grown amaranth for a couple of years now, and they are definitely a flower that I'm going to keep on planting every year. They are annual, so I have to start them from seed, unfortunately, but they are quick to go as long as I plant them outside. And amaranths can get a little bit large. Definitely give them plenty of space. They definitely need some sort of support because the plants just get really tall, and they can easily fall to the side, especially in areas with high winds. If you haven't grown amaranth, you definitely have to give them a try next year. Next is lilacs. Just like the hydrangea hedge that I have on the west side of my house, only a few feet away from them, I have a lilac hedge. The Korean lilacs that I have are absolutely amazing. I love the fact that the leaves on those Korean lilacs are very petite. I believe I have about 5 shrubs of them making the whole hedge, and my goodness, when they start blooming, when the blooms are opening up, the smell is just out of this world. I love them. If I cut them a little bit early before the flowers open up completely, they can last for about a whole week indoors. Lilacs are a shrub that is a perennial in my zone, so while they grow very slow, I'm not in a hurry. They are amazing, and it's definitely a shrub that you have to give them a try. If you don't have any type of lilacs in your garden, you are definitely missing out. The next type of cut flower is one that you can actually harvest really early in the spring. I am talking about tulips and alliums, and for those you only require to plant the bulbs during the fall, and early in the spring you will have gorgeous flowers. I feel like whenever we talk about cut flowers, a lot of people jump straight into summer, thinking of summer blooms, warm weather, but with some planning and organizing, you can definitely get a bunch of bulbs for tulips and alliums during the fall for harvesting early in the next spring. And alliums are a little bit better about coming up in my area. They definitely come back year after year. And tulips can be a little picky. Depending on the variety, you can maybe get 2 or 3 years after you plant them once. But tulips are definitely one of my favorite cut flowers, and it's one that you can plant in containers or straight into the ground. And if you're thinking that you are a little bit too late for planting tulips, I think that you have plenty of time. For my zone, for zone 5, I can plant tulips late in December, which is 2 or 3 more weeks, and they will give me a beautiful show of blooms next spring. Last year, I found a bunch of bulbs at Tractor Supply for about $1, right about December 27th. I put them in a raised bed, and I wasn't sure if I was going to have any of them go through the winter well enough, but I got a beautiful collection of tulips, and I am trying to do the same this year. I actually have a few bags outside, and I am definitely going to be putting those in a raised bed so that I can collect them next year. But if you are in a zone 5 or warmer, and if you can still work your soil, then I will encourage you to go out there, maybe find a few bulbs if you can still find them on sale, and try them. The next one is one of my favorites because I feel like they are very easy for me, at least, to grow, and those are sunflowers. And I have to admit, sunflowers are a little bit hard for me to cut, especially when I see all of the birds, all of the wildlife going to them looking for those seeds. The birds absolutely love to feed on them, so it's a little bit hard for me to cut those to bring them inside, but it's definitely one that you can do in a raised bed. I grow most of my sunflowers inside my raised beds because they help with providing plenty of food for the birds, and they are just amazing and very easy to grow. So as far as cut flowers go, I believe that those 10 are definitely ones that I will recommend. And remember, those recommendations are coming from me growing those flowers in my own garden in central Indiana in zone 5. Depending where you are located, some of them may not work for you, some of them may not do well, but I also want to mention something else. Just because a plant doesn't get sold as a cut flower variety doesn't mean that you can't use it as one. I am talking about blooms from plants that you may not think as cut flower per se, but I have a few ideas for you, and I want to challenge you to think from your own garden, what is something that it has bloomed beautifully and you look at the blooms and think, those are amazing. I have plants that I am going to put somewhere here on the screen, and while they're not considered plants bred for cut flowers, I think that the blooms that come from them are absolutely amazing, and I have found that either their foliage or their blooms can be used in any flower arrangement. I have used them, so I know that they do well. And you may have your own types of plants in your own garden growing that you can absolutely use those blooms or the foliage. The thing about flower arrangements, especially if you're not selling them, if they're just for you, for your own home, for your own joy, you can use any type of texture, any type of bloom, and you can make them work that way. That is it for this video, you guys. I hope that it inspired you. I hope that maybe it answered a question. Don't spend all your money on buying seeds for all of these plants at once. Let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know if you have a favorite. Maybe I didn't mention one that you absolutely love for flower arrangements. And don't forget, I have a newsletter.